Good evening, class. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of Puritans in the American colonies and in the history that they played for religion in America. Their religious views truly formed how they saw life in a lot of different ways. Two of the things they saw in life was their ability to have a great work ethic and to base their relationships off of covenant agreements. When it came to their work ethic, they seemed to be truly suited for a new world. Alan Taylor in the American Colonies, The Settling of North America, writes, "Puritan values helped the colonists prosper in the demanding land." You see, this world was not going to be an easy world. And their idea that life wasn't supposed to be easy, that it was part of their life and celebrating and worshiping, was actually doing things with a purpose. It was later said by Middlecoff when he was describing John Adams and his Puritan background, that he was driven to do something with purpose. These were all thought of when someone would mention a Puritan. It was always their driven work ethics. This was an important part of who they were, and they felt that it was honoring God to work hard and not be slothful, to build something, and this was the place to do it in. Building a whole new society, whole new ways, beginning to have something that they could build and honor God in what they're building. The second idea that they were important with was basing their relationships off of a covenant idea. You see, salvation was based off of a covenant. God early on taught them that the relationship he had with Abraham was one that was built on a covenant. They took these things for a reality in their life. They began to apply that to all areas that concerned especially how they would set things up politically. Alan Taylor says, "Once in Massachusetts, the company leaders established the most radical government in the European world, a republic, where the Puritan men elected the governor, deputy governor, and legislative, known as the General Court." This was an idea that was absolutely new. This wasn't a rule of a monarchy. This was men coming together, honoring one another, and building relationships in a way that would reflect how God built a relationship with them. This was something that they would translate again and again in setting up how they would govern themselves and work with one another. Mark Noll says, "To put in the Puritans' own terms, the covenant of grace qualified a person for church membership and a voting role in the colony's public life." While it would seem almost as if it was a theocracy, they actually meant it to be something that was separate from one another, but yet the same. While it was still a political side of the house, it would still be a covenant relationship. Even though on the same side of the house with their religious life, that was a covenant relationship too. It wasn't that the church ruled in government, but they used the same form. This laid a strong foundation even for our country today, and to strive for independence right straight from the start. The idea that we as men could work together and rule in politics was something completely brand new. The idea that we had individual liberties and that we did not have to be ruled by one man or a select group of very powerful men, that we would be able to come together, vote, work together, and make a covenant relationship was incredibly important. Middlecoff says in The Glorious Case, when referring to Continental Congress, who hundreds of years later from the Puritans, still going back to the way the Puritans did things, said that the Congress cited frugality, economy, and industry, and scourged extravagance and dispensation was no accident. It chose the only words Americans knew, words born of Protestantism that had existed in the colonies since their founding. The emphasis on the ethics of Puritanism called Americans to an older way of life, one perhaps that they were in danger of forgetting, and the urge to get and spend that filled so much of their lives in the 18th century. They're referring to their work ethic, and at the same time, they're demonstrating their covenant relationship. And both of these things were incredibly important things brought to us by the Puritans. Thanks.